This is my wallet from Groove Life, okay? You see how sleek this is? You know how simple that is? I push one button, it fans 5 credit cards. This is my belt. Now, I took it off to show you guys just because I like the way that this thing hooks. I got to show you guys this thing because it hooks with a magnetic field. Look at this. You're trying to get this on. Maybe you're in the dark. Oh, and it's hooked just like that. Well, doesn't that make sense to use a magnet? These guys have everything, though. It's not just belts. It's not just phone cases. They've got watch bands over there. I just want you to go spend a minute. It'll be exactly like that cool store outside the mall that you used to sink into for the massage chairs. Simply go to groovelife.com. That's it. They got a 94-year no BS warranty. So everything you buy is going to be plenty protected. Go to groovelife.com/Chael. You can even use the promo code Chael. That's going to get you 20% off all Groove Life products. The coolest store online is groovelife.com. Volkanovski started a YouTube page a period of time ago, maybe a year. And he's got some fun stuff on there. I mean, I've seen him cooking with Arrow. It was one of his better segments. And whoever this guy is understands film, and he understands editing. And he's read a book or two about the algorithm. It's not overly complicated, but whoever this guy is has come to Volkanovski and said, you have to do nothing, just give me access to you, and I will do everything else. That guy has done the most tremendous service to Volkanovski, and Volk might not know it. He might think he's being the nice one by giving the access. He's the one that sees himself on camera. I just got to tell you, this guy is doing a great job. I have pitched a show to Fight Pass before. Fight Pass did not do the deal with me and went and stole the idea, and it now lives on their platform. Only point being, they love the idea, right? It was good enough that they thought that they should steal it. The exact idea that I pitched is exactly what Volkanovski guy is not only making, it's what he edited and released yesterday. It's simply behind the scenes. And I get that that's not rocket science. There's just an order for doing it. He shows Volk arriving. He shows him warming up. He shows as he walks out to the ring. He shows when he returns and he's with his team, when he's damaged and bruised. And you don't know what's going to happen in those moments. You just turn the camera on. You do not know what's going to happen. You don't know if you've got a guy pumping his fist over his head in celebration or in the corner, pie facing the camera as he's in tears. You just don't know. And then, if you can get the access, which just means you've got the courage to walk into the opponent's room, you can get him too. And it's this great footage, and it's this great piece, and Volkanovski did it. And one of the pieces, and one of the elements that he released was Volk and his team barging in on Islam. Now, there is nothing wrong here. This is a time to celebrate and understand and just be grateful that whoever this guy that Volk's got with the brilliant idea of YouTube exists. He'll never be known and he deserves credit. I'm trying to give it to him now. I'd say his name if I knew it. But, right? I mean, there's always a but. You will never cease to get around a piece of psychology that two opponents who had to be separated, who spanned the globe over between face-offs, call-outs, medias, weigh-ins, and an actual competition, you will never get around that when they get together for that after photo. It was not ever 50-50. It was never we both looked up and we caught eyes and we began to walk forward. One guy wants the photo and the other guy does the photo. And the guy that wants the photo is the B-side. Not most of the time. 100% never in history has Floyd Mayweather gone to an opponent after a fight and said, "Can I get a photo?" So there's just a piece of psychology there that when you're the one asking for the photo, you're the one trying to ham it up and, hey, look at us. Particularly when you're in defeat, that you need to be a little bit careful with. So Volk goes in and he gets this shot with Islam, all right? Now he's cornered Islam and Islam doesn't want to be there, but there's just certain things that you do. There just are. You know, hey, good job, you were 3-1 underdog. I thought I'd get ready in 8 minutes. Turned out it took 25. I mean, it's one of those things. You pay your due and you do the photo. Now, when they were doing the photo, Volk did not miss the opportunity to ask for a rematch. Very wise to do. I'm just sharing for you that when this piece came out, it was a little bit misleading on some of the dirt sheets that picked it up. Not on Volk's actual page. On the dirt sheets that picked it up, it was a little bit misleading, as though Islam and Volk had agreed to a rematch. It was Volk who again asked for the photo. This was not even. Islam agreed to do the photo, and they began questioning him, and they asked him if he wanted to do the rematch. No, of course he's going to say yes. The cameras are going. And you would anyway. You would just say that. You would just say yes. You just would. It's the polite thing to do. But when Volk says we'll rematch and we'll do it in Abu Dhabi, okay? When anybody starts giving up territory in a negotiation before it's requested, you're weak. If I go into negotiation, that should be me 50% and you 50%, we're dead even. If I do that and before you open your mouth, I give up territory. I walk in, I ask for the match, and I concede home field advantage without a conversation. I obviously need this more than you do, and that's okay. But to reveal that without being asked to reveal it is a mistake. And if you're Islam, that's real simple if you want to be logical. Volk, why would I fight you in Abu Dhabi? Well, because, I had home field advantage here. There's 18,000 people cheering my name. We don't do matches in Dagestan, and I think Abu Dhabi's a little closer for you, and that's what we'll do. And if you're Islam, you said, but Volk, that sounds like that would help me. I think home field advantage would be helpful. Didn't you think you had help? But now you're going to give the help to me. I just beat you. You see the problem? It wasn't you overperformed and closed a 3-1 deficit and won some rounds and even had some controversy in Abu Dhabi, and now we're going to take it to home and see if those people can pull you over the edge. We did it at home, and you still did not beat me. So why would we give me any advantage? I was already a 3-1 favorite, and those people that made those bets just cashed in. So now we're going to give me an advantage and redo the match? Do you see where that doesn't quite square with the audience? And yeah, Volk would, yes, he would get that completely. He was caught up in the moment. He was drunk on excitement. He was a little bit surprised, right? I mean, that's what that B-side is. That's what the guy that asks for the photo is. He's the guy that was surprised. And sometimes you're even surprised with victory. Do you remember the night that Justin Gaethje beat Tony Ferguson? Because nobody in that building was more surprised about that than Justin Gaethje. And I've been that athlete before. I've been that lamb walking a slaughter. You look around, oh my God, time's out, and I've got more points. It's one of these really great parts of sport. It's what dreams are made of. But I'll just share for you, it is also very common. And what you were seeing from Volk, and you were seeing that excitement, you were seeing that highness on life, you were seeing that relief. You were seeing a guy that thought he was going to go get beat up. And that left in one piece. That didn't go to the emergency room. That didn't get dominated. That didn't get held down, get his arm ripped off. All the things that his undefeated or nearly undefeated opponent claimed he was going to do to him. It was one of those things. It was a relief. It was a highness. The highness is what caused him to barge the locker room in the first place. The highness, being drunk on that excitement, is what caused him to ask his adversary for a photograph. The highness is what gave him the confidence to ask for a rematch and moreover start giving up ground before we even sat down to talk. I think there's a lot of reasons you could do a rematch between those two. If you give any advantage to Islam, we now lost the rematch. Make sure you understand that concept. Every advantage went to Volk and he still didn't win. You understand that concept now? So we can't give ground the other way. And I want to bring that to you because rematches are not being done the way that they used to. We waited a period of time, right? I mean, they did everything they could in front of us. None of this was behind the scenes bureaucracy. In front of the world, they let us all know we don't want Glover Teixeira and Prochazka Part 2. They tried 4 different things that didn't work, and they finally went to Prochazka versus Glover Part 2. I'm not putting anybody down. I'm sharing with you. Generally, when you do a rematch, you do it like that. Moreno Figueiredo that fought like 30 times. They were set up to fight their second time at the press conference 25 minutes after their first one, right? I mean, but that's how that gets done, generally. Or it doesn't get done until a period of time. I can think of Colby Covington versus Kamaru Usman, just for an example that you would know. Yeah, they did the rematch, but there was 4 things in between 2 participants. We now really didn't have a world calling for Pierre versus Adesanya. I think people are happy it's here. I think it needs to be done. I think the building's going to be full. And I got to put I think in front of all of those statements. That didn't have on it what most rematches do. It didn't have call-outs. It didn't have back and forth. It didn't have the media behind it. It didn't have social media. It didn't have fans. It didn't really have any kind of controversy at all. But one day it was just made. So perhaps we have to take that into consideration. Islam has said, I'm not going to call anyone out. I'll fight whoever they say. Okay. That's if you're in Volkanovski's spot, that's helpful. Volk now has some footage that's coming out. I mean, this piece that I'm talking about where he's giving ground, he's negotiating against himself, it's still a piece, and that's more than anybody else can say. Nobody else was smart enough. Charles Oliveira was there that night. He was backstage. He wasn't smart enough to bring a camera with him and put something out 2 weeks after it was done. Nobody was talking about anything on that card or any other card 2 weeks after, but we're sitting here talking about this. So Volk and Islam have something. But what does Volk do with it now? He's got a commitment, and he's even got members of the media to believe and precipitate this. All right, that means something when you're particularly a man of faith, and your word means something. If you could put Islam into a corner, if you said, it can be very effective. It was nothing more than a strategy the way they put it out. I'm sharing with you it was a very good, effective strategy, perhaps. But what made that fight happen the first time more than anything else was an absolute refusal to hear different. It is called an implied sell. You're working in a car lot, and that guy comes in. After he test drives the car and you see the twinkle in his eye, you don't refer to it as the car. You don't refer to it as my car. Everything you say, it's now his car. Hey, we'll get a 6-disc changer put in that car for you. Oh, this car is going to be perfect for you. The seat comes back. It's going to be perfect. You're about 6'1". It's perfect for a guy that's 6'1". Your car is going to be what is called an implied sale. And down the road, pretty soon, when you ask for the check, hey, give me a check for your car. Yeah, of course I will. It's my car. The implied sale is why this worked for Volkanovski. We are even told that after the face-off between Islam and Volk, we're told this by Charles Oliveira himself. Charles says even after that face-off that Charles was offered the rematch. They were going to take that face-off, an organic moment, and light it on fire. So, man, that doesn't have to be 45-pounder, call it 55-pounder. That's not how fights are made. Move behind it and go on with Charles. We were told that. So what I'm sharing for you is that implication of a sale. No matter how many times you're told no, no how many times you're told, hey, we're thinking about it, no matter how many times you get reminded that you don't have the power, imply that it's done. That is what got him here the first time, and now it's Volk's move. There was some massive mistakes made by offering to go to Abu Dhabi. Massive. But only if Islam calls it out. It's Islam that has to say, you had the advantages. You still lost. It would make no sense to give me advantages. I'm the one do you see the problem? But it only works if Islam says it. Islam's only said, I'm not calling an opponent out. Nobody else has gone for the fight. The sport is not being done the way that it used to be done in terms of rematches. Maybe X amount of time goes by, they announce the fight. We'll see what happens. Shots have been fired. Volk and team did a beautiful job. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the story and the time frame for Volkanovski and Islam Part 2 as it sits right now.